Welcome.
Yes.
Again, it is us, the King and I Life podcast, hosted by myself, Soul Touch of the Poet, and my brother in this joint.
Sun Soul X.
Yo, as we say, hit us up, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I'll let you finish the rest.
All right. You guys can tune in to all of the major podcast platforms. We are on Patreon. If you guys would like to contribute to the show, you can also contribute at Cash App. But anyway, if you guys want to come on the show, you can hit us up at KINGANDEYE369@gmail.com. Again, that is KingandI369@gmail.com. We're welcome. Any comments, any topics you want to discuss. And again, if you want to come on the show and chop it up with us, let's do it.
Yes, bring it in. Chop it up with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh man, we got a good discussion going on here tonight. But other than that, hey, the merch is coming. The online store will be set up soon. Was going to do some giveaways, but the order ain't ready yet. This COVID stuff, man. You know how it is. But hey, it is what it is.
But yeah, we are definitely looking forward to those giveaways, man. I'm excited, hella excited to be a part of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I am so looking forward to it. So looking forward to it. So
without further ado, let's go and jump into this thing.
Wait a minute. I forgot to add a man. Wait, keep on talking.
This is a topic that a lot of people have some very deep feelings on. Their perspectives. I'm sure they're going to want to jump in on this one. I hope they do, and just don't sit back and relax and hit the cruise control on this one. But
yes.
This one is kind of spiritual. It's kind of
moral.
It's kind of religion. It's kind of ethical. I mean, it's all that in a fireball. So without further ado.
But yeah.
At what point is sex a sin, or is it?
Or is it? I mean, yeah. This discussion we're going to debate about what about sex constituted as a sin. And if it is so much of a sin or a deadly sin, why is everybody doing it so freely? Like it's nothing.
Yes, times have definitely changed.
Yeah, you know what? Not only have times changed, but people's perspectives on it have also changed. And what I find curious about it is, the woke people, and that covers the woke people, the religious people, and these and that, all of them.
Yeah, but everything in between.
But at what point can you seriously say, "Oh, that's a sin"? Like, I need somebody to holler at me about that. So, if y'all out there tuning in, holler at your boys, cause we needs to know.
Definitely. I'm just gonna go ahead and shoot my own personal opinion in on this one. I'm gonna say I don't think it is a sin, and simply because I feel like sex is a part of human nature.
True.
It is a part of male and female energy, collectively. So without having sex, there's no reproduction whatsoever.
Right.
In between man and female. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I just feel like sex is a way of expressing oneself, with someone else. In one category, and then another category, sex is a sport. To just be, brutally honest about it, sex is a sport
Yeah,
because some people just do it for the sport of it, to have something new, something changed up, just to get their rocks off, as they say. So I mean, there are so many different aspects when it comes down to sex of how people actually view it and their thoughts and feelings on it.
yeah, I can agree with that. And hey, some people do it to keep the lights on. you
Yeah,
know,
that is true. I mean,
you know,
prostitution is one of the oldest forms of making money, as they say.
yeah. So yeah, somebody has to convince me that it's a sin. Like the only way that I would even venture close to saying that it's a sin is when you take it. Uh, it's not consensual. It's not agreed upon, and you feel you have to violate someone. For me, that would be the sinful part of it. But outside of that, I
Uh,
got nothing.
I have to agree with you on that, simply because if you are the type of person, if you have to, take it, for the lack of the actual term, that fits it, um, I think you're a weak individual.
Hmm.
There's nothing I find more disgusting than someone who's in that mind frame of, let me take something that doesn't belong to me, or something that they haven't been given proper permission to have.
Exactly. I
Like,
totally agree with you.
there's way too many people out here selling it
Go
to
throwing it
to
away.
yeah, I mean, selling it to actually take it. I mean, come on, man. I mean, get your pimp game up, something.
Right.
But just, I don't think sex is worth your freedom in any light. But anyway, I'll move on from that.
Yeah.
Um, Sex as a sin as it relates to art, music, poetry, movies, and etc. I mean,
so
yeah,
so I can speak for myself.
right.
Uh I've written about sex in poetry, in short stories, and whatever the case may be. Um if it was a sin and there's no room for it, maybe I would be condemned in some circles. Um but I found that for myself, and even other poets that I've experienced who write about sex and stuff like that, it's very much welcome. No one is getting up out the room talking about, oh, you're talking about sex, why are you doing that? Like, no. um I think, and then when you jump onto movies and entertainment and this, that, and the other, it's like nobody is really condemning that in masses. Like, it's so acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, when you really look at it, when you come down to movies, television, selling products, it's everywhere. Let's just be real about it.
Hmm.
So they basically taken something that some feel is very sacred to a certain extent, and they exploited the hell out of it. Pardon
All
my
the way.
French. Pardon my French. But
Mm.
when it comes down to that, certain people, with a religious background, or or a certain belief, they'll watch these movies and these television shows, and then want to preach to someone else about how wrong it is.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, dude, you talking to me or coming at me with a double-edged sword there. So who's to
Hypocrisy.
say? Yeah, who's to say? What's right and what's wrong. I know we could refer to the Bible,
Oh Lord.
that I'm not gonna do that, but again, we're going off a book that's meant, I feel, as a guide, as a reference when it comes down to certain things in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we're talking about sex here, something that two human beings use as a form of expression.
Hmm. And you also have to take into consideration is how, from way back in the Unga Bunga days, how else was a man to uh show his dominance amongst the group? Like, if you can't, if you ain't the man that's swinging the rod, then the next man go and get it. So you like it. You know, it's that's what it is. I mean, if you look in the wild, you look at a pack of lions. You know, you got the leader of the pack, and young lion. Yes, unga bunga.
Yeah, man.
But you got the young lion coming through, and it's like, yo, I want to take his pride. That's mine. So they fight for it. And what happens? He impregnates all the women.
Yep.
That's no, to me, it's no different from what we do. You know, we may do it a little more smoothly or gracefully or whatever, you know, depending on the confidence of the man. But hey,
Yeah, I mean, again, just jumping off of what you're talking about, when a new lion comes to take over the territory, he comes to take everything. So
everything.
once he had that, lion fight and he's conquered the old king and sent that king on the way, the first thing he does is kill his offspring.
And then he make his own.
And then he make his own. So again, when it comes down to this is just something that's natural. So it's like, I don't get why people still feel so uncomfortable talking about something that's natural. I mean, this is damn 2021. Come on, let's be for real now.
You know what? Honestly, I don't think they uncomfortable. I honestly, I think it's just hypocrisy because um, you can't turn your nose up to it in public, but behind closed doors, you swing it from the chandelier. You know, you got all kind of sex trinkets and stuff, and you know, you taking pointers from porn and you know, movies and stuff that you want to try in the bedroom, and then in public, you're like, oh no, I can't do that. But
Right.
wait, you listen to such and such sing his song and the things that he did in his song, and now you want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna try that too. Or you watch something on TV and it's like, oh, that looks interesting. Let me try that. So yeah, I mean, if it's so sinful, uh stop. Just stop. But you know it's not gonna stop because it sells.
No, it's
And,
not
and,
going to stop.
and again, the same people is in church on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday talking about amen, amen. They damn sure ain't out there repenting.
No, they're not.
So Cheryl says, I feel like if the question is if sex is a sin, you have to look at and consider it from a biblical aspect. I guess one must define sin. That is true. Um, we did look up a couple of verses.
Yes, we did.
You gonna throw
Yeah, I'll throw this one out right quick. Um, this is Hebrews 13:4. Let marriage be held in an honor among all, and let the marriage be held undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. And hold on, let me get one more for you guys. And this is Corinthians 6:18.
Yes, yes. I was about to say do that one.
Flee from sexual morality. Uh, every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexual immoral person sins against his own body. Yeah.
Now, now,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get it. I get it. Get it. I don't knock anyone's religious beliefs or anything like that.
Never that. Never that.
Um, but from my opinion, if you look at it from a biblical standpoint or religious standpoint or whatever, however you want to dice it up, shouldn't everybody be married if they're going to have sex, so that it's not a sin?
I'll say this, right? Um, in the Bible, they give us the story of Adam and Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I didn't see anywhere in the Bible where Adam and Eve got married.
Neither did I. Never
I
heard
didn't.
that story.
I missed that part. So not saying that it doesn't exist, but I didn't see that part. So if someone has that information, please come forth with that information.
Please do.
Um, I think that when it came down to the whole marriage aspect of it, that was something that man came up with. I don't
Well,
think
yeah.
the true creators like, well, I need to see some paperwork first before I can make y'all official.
Right.
But again, that's just my personal opinion, and not saying that it's wrong to have paperwork whatsoever. I'm not saying that at all. Don't get me wrong, but I'm
Right.
just saying from a biblical aspect, I don't recall seeing anything in there like that.
So Cheryl says, could you please define in your opinions what a sin is?
I'll let you have that one first.
Me?
Yeah, I'll let you have that one first.
Oh, see, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we're throwing it out there because so many people say sex is a sin, but if I had to define for myself what a sin was, I would say I assume, I guess, a sin is something that goes against the word of whatever belief you follow. Um, that would be my definition of it. I can't give a more, I can't, for me, I can't give a more elaborate answer to that because, you know, when I sit back and hear people talk about sins and I go off of what I was taught, and then I see the same people or more with the hypocrisy behind, what they say are sins. It's like, well, if this is a sin, why are so many people doing it? Then you get the response, well, you need to worry about you. It's like, no, don't tell me to worry about me. Because if this person is teaching me that this is wrong in the eyes of the Lord, why are you okay with them doing it? Why are you doing it?
Good answer, sir. I'm gonna say for me, my personal opinion of sin is, if I have to put it in a biblical sense, whatever religion you follow, whatever your book is, and your book is telling you this and that and that and that and that is a sin, then that's what sin is. So I'm not here to dispute what sin is for anyone else. Um, me, I personally feel like anything that causes anyone any harm besides yourself is a sin.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, when people say, just thinking about doing something wrong is a sin, I'm like, people do or think, things wrong in their head all the time, but that don't mean they actually do it.
Right.
So if you want to say, me cursing someone out in my head that cut me off is a sin, then you're probably right. But in my personal opinion, no, you just did something to offend me. No big deal. It's just in my head.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that and to stay on topic, when people talk about, this and that is a sin, blah, 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 the majority of the people say, well, it's to your own interpretation. So if you have 5 million Christians on the planet, you might have 5 different interpretations of what a sin is.
Yeah.
Um, you know, 4 million people might think sex is a sin. The other million might be like, "What are you talking about? Like that's not a sin. That's natural." So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So is sex a sin when you're in a relationship?
Lord have mercy. I I I I don't know because um again, that's to everybody's interpretation. I mean, you could be dating somebody. Hey, that's a relationship. Hey, that's wifey. Hey, that's this. But wait, is it a real marriage or is it a regular marriage or is it a fake marriage? And I say real marriage because a lot of people define marriage as before God, um, or whatever religious ritual or religious way that you go about doing it.
Ceremony, maybe.
Huh?
Ceremony,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, we'll use that word. And then you have people who just go to the courthouse and get a person in that position to marry them, and they say, "Hey, that's a marriage." Or you'll have common law slash we saying we married.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's to everyone's interpretation of what they define as a relationship or marriage, and you go from there. So is it a sin then? Yes or no? Who knows? I don't know.
I'll say this. It's kind of like, can you actually separate sex from love? Some will say yes, and some will say no.
Hmm.
So when you're in a relationship with someone and you love them, sex to me is a natural part of expressing that love. So
True.
for me, I'm going to say no. I don't think
Hmm.
it's, a sinful thing to express your love to someone you're in love with.
Hmm.
I'll keep it short and sweet.
There you go. So should sex be only to procreate?
Oh, I will say this, right? The majority or the best part of sex is to procreate, to bring another
Wait,
living, breathing
in certain
in
situations.
certain situations. Yes, thank you. Um, breathing, being onto to this plane, but I'm not gonna say that's the case in every case because people love sex for the sport of it. Let's be real; they
Hmm.
love the sex for the sport of it. Um, People love sex when they drunk, when they sober, when they get that big promotion at work, or they score that big game winning shot. I mean, party time. I mean, let's be real. People just love to, express themselves. That's how I'm going to put that. So
Hey,
no, I don't think that having sex just to preoccupy. Thank you.
procreate.
Procreate. Thank you. Is what all is cracked up to be. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So Tammy from YouTube says hell no. So I guess she's saying hell no, sex ain't no sin. Um, and then Poetic Justice says, what does in love mean? That's a hell of a question.
That's a good one. That's a
That's a good
damn good
one,
one.
and we I think we're going to need to have you on our topic of the five love languages. But in love, like yo, I've lost the definition of that for that.
Okay, damn.
I've lost the definition for that.
I'll throw it out there. My personal interpretation of love
In
is
love, not love,
okay. In
in
love,
love.
in love. Thank you. Is when you feel so strongly about someone, um, you can't stop thinking about them. You know what I'm saying? You just want the best of everything for that person.
Hmm.
Um, it's how that person makes you feel. and how you make them feel. Do love last all the time? No. I don't think it does last
Fluctuates and
all the
all that
time.
other stuff.
And the reason I tell you like this, I met an old man one time. I was working on this one particular job, but he had a wife and they had been married for, shoot, I want to say like 40 some years,
Mm.
46 years, something like that. But anyway, I was asking him, I was like, man, how in the world have you managed to stay in love with your wife this long? To stay married to one person this long? And he was like, he thought about it for a second, then he was like, I'll tell you this. The trick to staying
The
in
trick.
love with somebody is not to fall out of love with them at the same time.
What the hell?
He said, you're going to have times when your wife is going to fall out of love with you, but you have to love her. There are going to be times when you're going to fall out of love with your wife, and your wife is going to still be in love with you. But he said, just don't fall out of love at the same time. That's when you're going to have problems. And that's the
Mm.
way he explained it to me. I thought about it. I thought it made perfect sense.
Mm. Ay, ay. Oh man. So, oh man, I almost lost my thought. But okay, so I don't know if this is biblical and or from scriptures or whatever its case may be, and hopefully somebody in the audience can say this.
Mm-hmm.
But I vaguely remember when I was younger that even in a marriage, you should only have sex when you're trying to have a baby. I don't know where that came from or why I thought that or heard that or whatever the case may be. Um, and I throw that out there because the next thing was, should there be limits on how much sex you should have as a couple? Um, so if you throw that dynamic in there, um, like how does that work for people?
I totally agree with you, Kevin Young. True love requires selflessness. Yes, I
Yeah,
totally agree with that. Because
yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of times you're gonna have to give a whole lot more than what you really want to give.
true, true, very true. Um, but another thing I want to throw out there, especially when it comes to you know is sex a sin? Um, how do you? Let's just say you're not married. You're just in a relationship. Um, you can say that you can't miss anything that you never had. So if you never had sex, naturally you're not necessarily going to miss it because you never had it. You just don't know. You may be curious about it and all this, that, and the other.
Right.
Now, when you have a situation to where you have one person who's had sex before and another person who hasn't had sex before, and they come to this agreement, oh, we're not going to have sex till we're married because that's the righteous thing to do. Um, how does that work when you have cravings and thoughts and all of that other stuff that come into play?
What it just says, define relationship.
Mm.
Define relationship. That's a good one.
An agreement between two people to where they set parameters for how they're going to conduct themselves together. That's how I'm going to define a relationship.
Sounds pretty good to me.
That's all I got for that.
All right. I'm gonna second that. How would you define it though, Miss Justice?
Yeah. How would you define it? Oh Lord.
She said entanglement is also defined as that.
I guess if you're not married, you're just entangled. I mean,
Oh, good one, Miss Justice.
I mean, yeah, if you're not married, you're entangled. So I guess here's the thing about it. I guess everyone out there is sinning with no regard. I mean, but at that point, it's like, is it really a sin? Like, if everybody is doing it, I mean, I don't know,
Mr. Young says at that point your focus should be on what God says.
right? But as we said earlier, a lot of people say, it's to your own interpretation. So, you know, we as wise men may say, all right, well, it says this and this is what it means. Somebody else might come along and say, no, that's not what that means to me. It means blah, blah, blah. Just like in the verse that you read talking about immorally, um, in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, everybody has their own definition of what moral and immoral is, especially when it comes to sex. So in America, we may not think it's a sin. A large population of Americans may look at it as a sin. Muslims may be like, oh, no, that's a sin. So, I mean, I don't know.
Miss Justice says, heck no. Creator says, lean not to thy own understanding.
We're not going to turn this into a religious segment.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Oh, man. But I mean, I I agree. But when it comes to sex, um, the reality of it is most people throw that out the window.
They do.
They throw it all the way out the window.
I mean, because
Um,
the thing about it is there are so many things that one can say is defined as a sin.
mhm.
Overeating or thinking inappropriate thoughts about one of your female coworkers or one of your male coworkers or something like that. I mean, there is just a list of what uh, one could say is a sin. So to pull one out and say, we're just gonna set this one to the side and we'll get back to that one later. I think that's kind of like, for a lack of a better term, you're BSing because if we got this whole list of sins, you can't pull just one out and say, well, this one here is acceptable and the rest of them are not.
Right.
They're all sins. But again, on the flip side of that is how can you say someone is a sinner for doing something that's natural to their creation?
Hmm.
I think that to a certain extent, you actually have to go against your own nature. So wouldn't that be a sin also?
Look here, I'm not a Bible scholar or anything like
No,
that.
no,
So
no, no.
I
We're just
uh,
raising questions here.
yeah.
That's all I know.
And
Yeah.
Kevin says it's about having the proper mindset, and I definitely agree it's about having the proper mindset because to do anything, especially when it comes to sex and stuff like that, you got to have the proper mindset. Um, and Miss Justice says, "Yep, gluttony, lust, all specified, but people choose what they want to fit their poison, and they run with it, and that's true. Like we did the segment
Definitely.
on the seven sins, and a lot of that stuff we talked about. Um, a lot of them overlap with each other as far as how they were defined, um but I mean, hey, yes, people fail every day,
Yeah. Yeah, we
every day.
all fall short.
It's not like, what I mean, if you want to jump in here and speak your piece, let us know, because we really want to gauge what you're saying, Miss Justice. So I
Oh,
mean, if you want to You want to call in and speak your piece, let us know so we can get you on here, so we can get, exactly what your angle is, and your perspective is on it. Um, I
Definitely.
mean, we can only I can only look at it from, my experiences with life. I, at no point can I say uh, a person is right or wrong in any way, because that's your life.
True. Ms. Cheryl says, I believe that by definition, the word sin is defined and rooted in the Bible. You can have different opinions on what is immoral behavior, but sin is something not pleasing in the eyes of God by definition.
Hmm. So, my question would be, when it comes to sex, at what point is it not pleasing in the eyes of God?
Ooh, good question. Very good question.
Let's see. Kevin says everything we come against is addressed in the Bible. True, but it starts with the mindset and wanting to align your life with the will of God. Yeah. Um, I think our I don't want to say difficulty. I think what we're trying to get or gauge or um, have answered uh, is, again, at what point is it a sin? At what point is sex a sin? Um, because we can all throw out, what we know, what we understand, what we think, what we believe when it comes to that. But at at its core, um, at what point is sex a sin, or is it? Um, because I have to say, if it's a sin, why are people fornicating so much? Why are people okay with it?
Ms. Cheryl says, therefore, adultery, coveting one's wife or husband would be sins. Miss Justice says, depends on your beliefs. Mr. Young says, when it's not with your wife.
And I can totally agree with all of those. But, but we all, we all know someone who is doing all of those things. And how many of us are condemning them, turning our nose up at them, or separating ourselves from them? Because if I want, let's just say me, myself, I want to be technical about it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not condemning that person, I'm not turning my nose up, or I'm not distancing myself from that person, and I feel in my heart of hearts it's a sin, I'm condoning that. That's how I look at that.
All right. I'll ask this one question then. Um, I'm trying to make sure I put it in the right context for you. When we were young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody think back to your first time, the very first time you got a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're all excited, butterflies in your stomach and everything. You didn't know what to really expect. Um, but at that particular space and point in time, it felt natural to you.
Mm-hmm.
So the point that I'm making here is how can something that's natural to you be a sin? Although you may have had sex with someone, um, of course, again, before marriage, maybe some out of curiosity, some, had heard and wanted to see and experience what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at that particular point in space and time, you were just doing what came natural to you. You wanted to find out for yourself what it was
Right.
all about. You heard about it, people talking about it, your friends talking about it. You see it on TV, movies, etc., on and on, and so forth and so forth.
Hmm.
So again, how is something that's natural to you as a human being a sin? And that's just a question. That's not me, making a statement. It's a question.
Yeah, and Cheryl says just because everyone else is doing it doesn't make it any less a sin. Um, I know I don't think that I'm saying that it makes it any less a sin. I think my thing is, you know, so many people are doing it, and we all know people who covet other people's wives or commit adultery or fornicate and this, that, and the other. Um, and if we're all, let's just say that we're all rooted in a religious belief, and we all know someone who's doing this, and we know again in our heart of hearts that's a sin, but we're not condemning this person. We're not turning our nose up at this person. We're not stepping away from this person and see, like, I can't be around your sinful behavior. We're not trying to correct that person. So if it's so much of a sin, then, hey, why are we not checking these people, for lack of a better term?
So, Miss Justice says, how do you know it is natural? It could have come from something unnatural. Okay.
Or something you saw. I mean, to answer that is like, well, how else would we get here? Be fruitful and multiply. Isn't that in the Bible?
I believe that's in there.
So, I mean, it is natural. I mean, yeah. Kevin says felt natural because it's what we were shown. Yeah, through friends and such. If we didn't have anyone to show us or tell us, different. I can agree with that and I will agree with that because I was exposed to that, in my younger years, and I was also told that's wrong. But it's like, well, okay, that's wrong, but I'm seeing it all around. And then, and as Kevin said, earlier, a lot of people are not operating in the right mindset and such. But again, it's going on so much. How do you sit back and try to correct so many people who are doing so wrong?
I'll say this, right? Um, if there were two beings on the island, right? Let's say they shipwrecked there, and they,
Mm,
for whatever reason, the people who were taking care of them perished or whatever. Ask yourself this question: if it was a male and a female, and they were, no, just old enough to start taking care of themselves, do you think at some point they're going to interact with each other on a sexual level because it's natural? And again, that's a question. It's not a
mhm.
statement.
Now, Cheryl says pedophiles believe that having feelings for and being with little boys and girls comes naturally to them. So, is that not a sin or immoral? We were talking offline, and we definitely agree that if you take it from someone, uh, if it's not consensual, is with someone who is not old enough and all that stuff, that should be immoral across the board. That's not even a question. So I don't even
Mhm.
think we need to really dig into that because that's just dead wrong.
Yeah.
But when you look at people who are of age, adults who know what they're doing, let's just say people who know exactly what they're doing. I'm not talking about the hot teenager where we all came from. We was a little hot in the draws, and it's like, hey, I saw this on TV. Nah, we're not. Let's talk about people who have the wisdom to make these decisions. People who, for the sake of conversation, know and understand that it's a sin. They're out there doing it. So again, at what point is it a sin? Um, Kevin says his first time he didn't know anything about what the Bible says, and as many of us didn't. Um, but were we told that it was wrong? Was we told that? I think most of us were told either you better not do it, if you make a baby, you in trouble,
Hmm.
and stuff along those lines. We were never told, hey, that's a sin. So I definitely get that point. But then we grow up and we start doing, all these other things that feel good to us, feel natural to us. And then we start learning other things. So, uh, um, yeah, yeah, yes, Kevin. It's not our job. We can only control us. But I mean, controlling us to a degree does not afford. I will say it does not afford us the latitude to teach others what is right and wrong, so to speak. I could be off, but I'm just saying, like, if I say, you know what, I can't worry about what that person is doing, even though I'm looking at this person do wrong. I can't worry about that. I got to worry about me.
I'll say this. It's kind of like growing up. It's natural.
Hmm.
You can't stop your kids from growing. You wish that they were still in diapers or at a certain age, and you wish they could just stay there forever. That's the point that you love them, are so in love with them, and you're having the most fun with them, or whatever the case may be. Um, but we can't stop them from growing.
Hmm.
We can't stop them from doing what comes natural. So
Right.
when it comes down to sex, I think again that it's natural, and I'm not saying that is uh, right or wrong. I'm not here to put a tag on it like that.
Hmm.
But what I am saying is, how can you stop someone from doing what they feel is a natural part of life? I mean, if we look at nature itself, where in nature do you see horses having to sign papers to say, that in order to come out with a new stallion, you take these two, highly sought after, or, great horses, race horses, or, however you want to put it, and you put them together and you make this one great horse that wins the Kentucky Derby or whatever the case may be. But the point that I'm making here is you can't stop nature from being natural. Like
True.
the birds and the bees, you can't stop them from procreating. It's just a natural part of life, I think. Anyway,
Um, Cheryl says her point was just because the feelings come natural doesn't mean those feelings should be acted upon. Um, I'll go out on a limb and say, okay, if that's the case, then how do we be fruitful and multiply if those feelings should not be acted upon? Um, but then you have to go back to, should you be married? Should you not be married? Does it matter? When it comes to, having sex. I don't know.
okay. Is fornication really a sin, or is it the man-made rule to keep people from enjoying life?
Mm. Um, Again, I mean, I don't want to make this like I mean, I can't say I don't want to make this a Bible conversation, but um, the Bible says you shouldn't fornicate. Um, that's not stopping adults from fornicating. So,
Not at
I
all.
mean, so man, I mean, for me, this is I don't know. This is a this is a struggle for me to answer. Um, so if any of you out there would like to uh come on and speak your position without typing, please text your name so that we can get you in here, because Um,
It is
I can only grasp at the straws that I have knowledge of.
Mhm.
That's all I can do. And then I can also look at it from the limited knowledge that I have when it comes from a religious standpoint. So again, I'm not going to sit out there, run out and get married just so I could have sex. I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. Um, and also not going to sit around and wither away and not enjoy sex for the sake of those rules. Um, at the same time, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't masturbation a sin as well? Uh, the thoughts aren't those sins as well? So being that, and like I said earlier, you can't miss what you never had, but you get curious. And for me, I've had sex for half my life, more than half my life. So that takes a strong person to sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to stop this and live this way until I get married and find a suitable mate to, have sex with. But then inside of that, again, are there limits to how much sex you can have as a couple and the reasons you should have sex? Because again, I mean, if you only have to have sex to multiply, then we all screwed. No pun intended.
I'm gonna say is fornication is a sin. In the Bible it says it's a sin, so I'm gonna agree with it. But at the same time, I have to say it's kind of like, how can you stop somebody from thinking something in their head?
Especially when it's so it's fed to us so much. It's
Right.
fed to, and here's the problem that I have with it being fed to us so much. As adults, we have the ability to comprehend and regulate out. Most of us have the ability to comprehend and regulate ourselves. But you have to look at these kids who do not understand this, and they're being fed all this nonsense. So if I look at it like that, yes, I will say that's a sin. And I hold the people who are responsible for putting this out there as the sinners. And then you have to look at, well, this child knows better because this child has been told this is wrong. So now the child is sinning. It's like uh, everybody is sinning and nobody gives a damn.
Yep. Michelle says, I feel as a society we have become so accepting of what comes naturally. When it comes to sex and it's caused an explosion of babies having babies, marriages being torn apart by infidelity, women being the R word, uh, messages to our young that sex is just an action, so go for it. And I can go on and on. I agree with you.
Yeah.
They are definitely pumping it out like, this is the damn crack house.
Mm-hmm.
Because everywhere you look and everywhere you turn, there's sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't agree that it should be pushed so much. I definitely feel you on that, Cheryl. But again, we're not the owners of those television stations and all that. So the best thing I can tell anybody is just turn your TV off. Don't be on your phone watching things that you feel are, against what you personally believe. So
Kevin says we should come talk on his show on the 19th. Let me see what the 19th. That's a Sunday. Brother, we might be able to do that.
let me see the
Might
19,
might be.
19, 19.
That's on a
Yeah,
Sunday.
I know, I
Next
know.
Sunday. No, next
Oh,
Saturday. Next Saturday.
next Saturday. I don't have anything planned, so
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to put that down in my book to be there, Mr. Young, because I definitely want to come out and show support to you, brother. I
Yeah, so
appreciate every time you
let me
come on.
jump back to what Cheryl was saying.
Yeah.
When she says marriages are being torn apart by infidelity. Okay, so let's chomp on that for a hot second. I want to get because we got some more topics to go through. Um, yes, I agree, but let's look at two people and infidelity is not an issue. Let's look at the two people who are um, in a relationship but they're not married. Let's just say these two people have sexual desires. Let's just say that they are religiously sound and but they're not married, but they're having sex. And everybody in the congregation knows they're having sex. Everybody in the congregation knows this is a sin, but everybody is okay with this. So at what point is sex a sin? Um yes, marriage is being torn apart by infidelity. We can probably agree as a whole that that is a sin. Marriage is being torn apart by infidelity is a sin. We can probably all agree that babies having babies is a sin. Um,
Definitely.
um, we definitely agree that women being raped is a sin. I'm not for that at all.
No.
At
Hell
any
no.
juncture, I'm not for that.
Mm-mm.
Now, let's travel back in time.
All
Let's
right.
travel way, way, way back in time to where it was common practice to give birth to kids 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, like the Egyptians and all of those were doing. Were they sinning? I mean, the Hebrews, were they sinning when they were doing it back then? I mean, again, at what point is sex a sin? And wait, before you throw your thought in there,
Okay.
um, Miss Justice said they are not okay. They are probably doing something and they cannot judge someone. Right. So again, at what point is sex a sin? And everybody as a collective say, you know what, we are sinning and we need to stop.
So let me ask the audience this then. Um, Before religion came onto the scene, right? Before the Bibles were written and all that, um, what do we call that when people were having sex before that, point in time?
Yeah, because man was on the earth before Christianity.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, at what point did it become a sin? I don't have the answers.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
I mean, I would love for someone to, be able to make me knowledgeable in understanding of this, but um, I think we look at certain situations as a sin. Collectively, we look at certain situations when as a sex as being a sin, and then when we break off into our own beliefs and all that other stuff, whether they're religious or personal or cultural, um, some of that stuff goes out the window. Um, yeah,
That it does.
yeah.
Is it wrong to have sex with a person before you get married or decide to be in a relationship?
Hmm, hmm.
I'm gonna say no. I'm just gonna throw it out there. No. Is it a
Um,
sin? Yes, but is it wrong? No.
um, yeah. I mean this. But see, and here's my thing about it, and I'm not taking jabs at anybody. I'm just experiences with my life entirely.
Right.
Um, it just blows my mind that people will say that certain things are a sin, this, that, and the other, but you turn around and they're doing the same thing. It's the hypocrisy that's out there, and it's like, for me, it's like I can't listen to what you're saying, especially if you're trying to teach me, the ways of righteousness when it comes to, you know, sex, fornication, and this, that, and the other. I can't take what you're saying as solid if I see you doing this very things that you're telling me I should not be doing according to the words that are in this book. I just can't.
Right. I mean,
That's
I'm
just
not
me.
not gonna throw any particular pastor under the bus, but there have been, countless of incidences where we have these very famous preachers who get caught up in certain scandals where they're having extramarital affairs. Um, but here's the thing: yes, they do lose some of their congregation,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of their congregations stay loyal to them. They
Mm-hmm.
still come back. They still say, well, we forgive you. You're only human. So it's kind of like, how can you say what's good for the geese isn't good for the gander?
Yeah, true. And then I got to go back to what Kevin was saying is, you can't worry about other people. You got to focus on what you're doing that's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, if this person is supposed to lead the congregation to righteousness, it's like, yo, I can't follow you now.
Yep.
I got to look at everything that I have to scrutinize everything that you are saying to me about this now. But then we all have this thing to where it's like, oh, but he's human. Oh, he's not perfect. Oh, but he can repent. He can do this, he can do that, she can do this, she can do that. It's so much out there.
There
So
is.
much out there.
So, how do you think people would act overall if they didn't fornicate? Like, what do you think society would be like without what's actually happening?
It'd be different. Um, Kevin says when you know the word of God, you know better. So I will take from what he said and say, if people didn't fornicate and they followed the word of God, Allah, or whatever the case may be, for them it would not be an issue. Um, for those who do not um, know the word of God or don't follow it, to the letter, it'd be a struggle. Um, I think if they didn't fornicate, a lot of people would be miserable, unhappy, unruly, a whole bunch of other things that are immoral, um, unjust. And, I won't go on to saying, let's just not say that they're going to go do sexual crimes or misdealings and stuff like that, as far as, rape, molesting, but let's not take it that far. Let's
Right.
just say that if people did not fornicate, they would be very miserable. That would take away from some of their ways of releasing stress and relaxing and this, that, and the other. But again, as Kevin says, when you know God, you know better. So there'd be a great deal of people would be like, all right, I'm good. It is what it is. Can't fornicate? All right, I'll find something else to do.
Yes.
Uh,
Cheryl says, "How can it be sin but not be wrong?"
mhm.
I'm not judging anyone because I've been guilty of a lot of sin, but it's sin, and all sin is wrong. We are sinners, and we are wrong. But honestly, we are more concerned with what pleases our flesh than what is pleasing in God's eyes. I will agree with you.
Yeah, and that's the same,
Um,
pretty much the same thing that Kevin has been saying.
I'll say this to give you more of a response to that, Ms. Cheryl. Um, is it a sin by the Bible? Yes, we know this. Um, do I personally think it's wrong? I don't think it's wrong to express yourself with people that you love.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like you're right, but you're wrong at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people say that don't make any sense, but that's kind of what it is. We're not going to be able to stop people from having sex. I don't give a damn how much we preach the word of God to them or put a Bible in their face or try to tell them they're going to hell or whatever the case may be. You can't stop something, from what some people feel is natural to them. And if they want to express themselves sexually, they're just going to do it. Whether that be with again, they wife, they girlfriend, or boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. You just can't stop other people from thinking and feeling what it is that they feel. This isn't the ideal world. I wish it was, and I agree with you. Please believe that, I'm not trying to discredit what you're saying, but I'm giving you more of a perspective of how it's a sin, but I don't feel it's wrong. I,
Right.
I hope I gave you, enough insight on that.
And Kevin says repentance isn't a get out of jail card, and he can't be in the church that isn't in total alignment with the word. Um, I'm not a big church goer, but I definitely that sits with me, and that's pretty much why I don't go to church too much because you know for me um just to sit in a church and see all the hypocrisy when it comes to that. Like you see the pastor giving eyes to Sister Sue over here, and the deacon is with doing this with and first lady is sliding in the back with such and such, and it's like, yo, really? Like, I can't be in here with all of that. I can't. So I'm not going to step foot in there. So, but again, it's like, so y'all preaching this stuff, and y'all help me understand where. And it's kind of like, to me, it's like, where can I find a safe place to worship? Because I don't feel safe in those places. If that's a sin and you're okay doing this sin, I don't I don't feel safe around you. I just don't. Kevin says release your stress by reading the Bible. I'm not a big Bible reader. I know a lot of people are. Um, but then again, you still got, people who crack that Bible open front to back, and they still doing it.
Miss Cheryl says your question is the uh, is at what point sex becomes a sin. If it goes against the teaching of God, it's a sin. I agree with you. Perhaps the question should be, at what point does it become immoral? Perhaps so. Very well
Um,
said.
I think a lot of us know at what point it becomes immoral. Um, and I guess we kind of stayed away from the immoral part because I know what's immoral, and because I know what's immoral, I would hope that it's a general consensus with uh, reasonably thinking people that there are certain things that are immoral.
Well,
But then we gotta back that up a little bit and say, well, you have two adults who are in a relationship, and it's just those two people. They live under the same roof. They're not married. They're having sex. So, is that a sin? Is it immoral?
Mr. Young says people come to church expecting perfection when nothing is perfect but God. I would agree with that also.
True. True. I, I, I don't go to. I've never went to church to expecting perfection, but what I've expected was people to act accordingly. And if that's expecting perfection, then shame on me. But I expected certain things, and then when I see the blatant hypocrisy, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. So yeah. So let's move on to the next one, man.
All right.
In what circumstances would you consider adultery a sin? Every circumstance, I will say, adultery is a sin. Every circumstance, and I say again, every circumstance, adultery is a sin. But I have found through my own life experiences that I have justified adultery by saying this marriage is dead.
I will agree with that. The thing, I'm just going to give some different scenarios here. and not saying that I go with these scenarios one way or another. Um, when you have a marriage that is, like you said, is dead, where both parties have willfully agreed to walk away from their marriage, even though they don't legally, uh, go to the courts and say we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So when people walk away from a written agreement like
Mm-hmm.
that, um, they moved on with their lives. I mean, are they still sinning at that point because they didn't go to a courthouse and nullify that marriage agreement? When you have a situation where you have a married couple where one person, is still in the marriage trying to do everything they can to fight for their marriage, when the other person is out doing, God knows what else. But then when that person, who's been there, who's been fighting since day one to say, I want this relationship, I want this marriage to work, when they are finally fed up and they say, you know what, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I'm going to do my own thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, both people are sinning.
It is
So
what it
again,
is.
yeah, I'm just giving you guys some scenarios. When it comes down to uh, either one person sinning in a relationship or both people sinning in a relationship. Um, for whatever reason, you know, some relationships or marriages just don't work out.
Right.
So if you go and resolve that legal document at that point, you are considered single. But in the eyes of God, uh, and again, you can check me on this. What it says is a man. I want to say a man can't leave his wife, or wait a minute. Well, no. It's a woman can't leave her husband. It's something like that. Mr. Young, you probably know that better than me. But um, the point that I'm making here is, again, you're taking church and elite, and I guess you can say state, and you're joining them together because you took something. If you got married in a church, you have to sign that legal document.
Mm-hmm.
So if you never dissolve that legal document, which is by the state, are you still sinning when both people walked away from the marriage? Just a question.
Um, and to piggyback on that, me and my first wife, we have this joke. Um, After we got divorced and, we got our heads together and we became best friends or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, she used to say to me, "You can't get married to nobody else." And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, "Because you married me first, you can't marry anyone else. If you marry anyone else, you're committing adultery." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, wait, I gotta find this somewhere. I don't. And Mr. Young, you might know the verse or wherever to find that or whatever the case may be, but I find that ironic because if that is the case, you divorce your first wife or first husband, you can't get married again because you're committing adultery, which in turn you're committing a sin, and then you have sex with that person, you're still sinning. At what point? What point? Like, I don't
Yes.
know. I
Yes.
don't. I can't provide any context to that because I mean that's to say I got married at the age of 20 the first time. I got divorced probably 23 years old. So that's saying for the last 25 years, I've been sinning my ass off. And I'll just say because I got married two times after that, so I committed some hellified adultery. In if that's the case, um, So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. So is the marriage healthy if you're not uh, having intercourse with your mate?
I don't even know what to say to that because isn't it a requirement in marriage for the the wife to have sex with the husband? Again, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but as I was loosely taught, and from what I uh, strongly observed, you should have sex in your relationship, in your marriage, or whatever the case may be. Or else, if you're not spiritually grounded, or whatever the case may be, you may be like, oh, well, she ain't giving it to me, or he ain't giving it to me, and I need it, I want it, I'm going to go out and get it. Is it a sin not to have sex in your marriage?
Ooh, some good questions right there.
But then you have to say, is it a sin not to have sex in your relationship, period?
I mean, especially when the state says common law marriage.
Common law, common
Yes.
law, common law is man's law. That has nothing to do. Common common law, marriage, and man law cannot say, hey, that's wrong. No, we know. That just doesn't fly. No man is going to dictate whether I sin or not. No. You're not going to dictate, oh, y'all been together 7 years, so you're married. No, the hell I'm not.
Yes.
I did not go before no man or being to say we are married. No.
Mm. I think when it comes down to marriage, you have to be intimate with your mate. Um, I just think that that's, for lack of a better word, is part of being a human being. You know what I'm saying? I think we all want or would like at least some type of human interaction,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're married or in a relationship with someone.
Mm.
It's something about the human touch, just the touch people appreciate. And some of us are accustomed to that. We
Yeah.
need that interaction, with our fellow human beings.
We are accustomed to some strange things.
Yes. So I definitely feel that that's part of being in a healthy relationship, marriage
Mm.
or otherwise.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mr. Young, you said you was back. I don't know what part you missed or if you was going to research anything that we said, but um, is there somewhere in the Bible or the word where it says when you divorce your first husband or wife that any marriage after that is considered adultery? And so that was the question at hand that we was throwing out there. Let me see if I could copy this link. I don't think I can copy that link, but open Bible info. Go ahead, and
Okay.
okay.
So
You know what? That's
we,
the fucking. Oops, that was the link that we was looking at earlier.
yeah.
But go ahead. I'm gonna look that up.
We kind of already tackled this one. What if the couple is separated with the intent on divorce?
Um.
Yeah, I think that again, if you are married, if you guys have come to the mindset of you both agree that it's not going to work, um, and you guys go your separate ways. Going by the Bible, is that a sin? Yes, because you're still married. But on the flip side of that is you're not gonna stop people from being, human, or again, getting what they feel they need. So yes, we could say that that's a sin, flat out, no argument.
Okay, so I found the verse.
All right.
It's Matthew's 19:9. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery.
So, is my interpretation of that correct? Is saying that for whatever
What
reason your wife is not performing her wifely duties sexually,
if
then you
if
know.
that's how you look at sexual immorality? Uh,
Okay, Mr. Young said yes. So okay, I get points for that one.
okay,
I'm glad somebody agreed with me because I wasn't sure.
I'm a throw a little humor out there then.
All right, go ahead with it.
Um, I felt in my second and third marriages that was the case, and I divorced. It might have been in my head that I felt like that and thought like that,
Right.
but at the end of the day, I divorced my first wife, and that was not the case.
Oh.
So I just messed up all the way around. He said that was for the previous
Oh,
question.
okay.
Now here's another one, Matthew 5:27-28. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Does that apply to single men or men in marriage? But in either case, you've committed adultery by looking at a woman with lust. And we already know lust is a sin.
But that's okay. Let's break that down, right? If you look at a female with, man, I will ooh. I think that's lust. But if you
Right.
look at a female and you're like, man, that's an attractive female, and you keep it moving, you just leave that thought right there. I mean, are you still sinning at that point when you're just admiring the opposite sex or someone you find attractive?
How not can a man look at any woman and not be lustful in his stare?
Hmm. Good question.
Next question.
Yes, sir. What if this couple is separated? Wait, no. What if the couple is agreeably separated with the intent of getting back together? Hall pass.
I think they
Meaning
damn fools.
your mate said, do whatever you want, and we gonna get back together after that.
So, but for all intents and purposes, you're okay with this person sinning? What does that speak of your character when it comes to that? What does that speak of your morality when it comes to that? Like, you can't tell me, first of all, if we're separating, I'm not thinking about coming back to you.
Right.
Like that can't be a pre cheating agreement. You can't tell me, oh well, you can go out and you can have this hall pass, and when you get finished, come back home to mama. What? I don't even know who you are anymore.
All right.
So, it,
So let me ask this question then. And we touched on this on a previous episode. In our country, we don't make the laws, right? We don't make the rules. They tell us that we can vote on certain things, but again, we don't, whatever. But other countries, they have uh, where a man can take more than one wife, and other countries a female can take more than one husband. So are they wrong for pursuing, you know, another mate when it's supposed to be legal in their country?
That's
Or are they sinning?
that's a good question because some of those do those under religious pretenses.
Yes.
Um, I guess somewhere in their Bibles or Qurans or whatever the case may be, I guess it says that. Um, I think here in America that has been frowned upon for a very long time.
Yes, it has.
Um, so it's crazy if that is okay in the birthplace of religion, but a sin in the land of sinning, which is America. So, I mean, I don't know. I would think that's more hypocrisy. I mean, again, if that's okay in the land of religion, why is it a sin here? So,
That's a damn good question, though, isn't it?
yeah,
So, what they tell us the birthplace of religion is you can have more than one wife. But here in our country, that's illegal because, okay, I'll leave that right there. So, open relationship, swinging, polygamy, etc. Sin is that a sin according
um,
to your religious background or beliefs?
I mean, polygamy was pretty much answered in the previous thing, but I would say swinging is a sin.
I would agree with that.
I would definitely say that. Um, so I just looked at the link that Kevin sent, and
Hmm.
Deuteronomy 17:17. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver or gold. Um, hmm.
I need a little more insight on that one. I don't want to interpret that one the wrong way.
Well, here's an easier way to interpret it.
All right.
1 Corinthians 7:2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Um, so I will take that as one for one.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about this country and what's in our Bibles.
Mm.
Oh, so one partner deployed away on a long business trip or working out of state/country.
See, let's talk about that right quick.
All right.
Yeah, that is dead ass wrong.
I
Um,
agree.
Dead wrong, sinful, whatever the case may be. One, you first of all, you're committing a sin by cheating on your husband while they are deployed or working away or whatever the case may
Mhm.
be. Secondly, as a man or woman, um, for you to commit adultery on your spouse who is deployed, that says a lot about your character. This person is already in a stressful environment and you don't care enough to even be in that person's corner 100%. I just can't say any more about that.
Yeah.
That's I mean, and I've known when I deployed, and yeah, I when I deployed, I said I was cutting everybody loose because I did not want that to affect me. Wrong
Right.
attitude, wrong mindset. But to hear stories about people being deployed and their wives or husbands back there cheating on them and, sending them videos and this, that, and the other and all that other craziness. And, you
Selfish.
know, they commit suicide and, depression and this, that, and the other, or they come home and the house is empty and find out the wife ran away with the best friend. It's just,
Yeah.
it's sinful, but it's just so dead wrong. Yes, Kevin, selfishness to the next level. Yeah, that right there is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, and I feel for anybody who has to go through that. I mean, whether you're religious or not, whether you look at it as a sin or not. But I mean, we're gonna talk about it as a sin, but that's wrong. That's immoral, very immoral.
Right. I'll give you an example of that and how, growing up as a military kid, how that affected my life directly. Um, you know, when we stayed in those buildings or those living apartments in Germany, uh, we were on the third floor. I think there was a couple on the fourth floor. It's a Caucasian couple, and her husband got deployed um, to some area. This is back in the 80s.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to say it was back when Russia and the U.S. were having issues or whatever. It
Hmm.
was like around that time when the Berlin Wall, I want to say, was coming down or something like that. But
Hmm.
anyway, everybody in the building knew his husband or her his wife was banging this other soldier because they would be doing their business in their apartment.
Wow. Yes,
So
Kevin, Germany.
they came up, past everybody's apartment to get to her apartment. And just the looks I remember this lady getting, from the other people in the building, like, you dirty.
Mm.
But when the guy came back, man, I remember being outside. I was working on my bike and I saw him pull up, and I guess he had already gotten the word because the look on his face was like,
Mm. I
like,
can I can only imagine.
and my heart went out to this dude. I was like, I wish I could say something to comfort you, sir, but there's nothing I can say to you right now.
Nothing.
So anyway, he walks past me. He knew me, gave me the glance, how you doing, kid? Anyway, went on up to his apartment, and she was gone, and the kids were gone. So I remember him coming back down mad as hell.
Mm.
And, he's walking back and forth, and he, smoking the hell out of his cigarette. And I'm like, dude, my heart goes out to you. I wish there's something I could say to you. But he left, and he stayed gone for probably like 2 or 3 hours. By that time, she hadn't came back, and he came in, and the whole god dang side of the building could hear what was going down, and it
Mm.
wasn't good. Um, I don't think it turned to violence, but he definitely, went there with her. So when it comes down to, soldiers being deployed, it's kind of like that's the worst time you could cheat on your spouse. Like,
Mm.
they out here, carrying a torch or, putting their life on the line, as they say. And you back here, getting freaky with the next person. That's, I don't know. Your morals all fucked up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we move on, Cheryl points out, makes a good point that I didn't even think to say. Um, when I was in Iraq, uh, um, they say don't do it, don't do it. This guy got caught up out there messing around in the bleachers, and where we were stationed was a sports complex, and he got
Mhm.
caught with this lady in the bleachers. Imagine having to be sent home and tell
Ooh.
your wife,
Yeah.
why you got sent home, reduced in rank or put out or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Um, and Cheryl goes on to say she even witnessed it when the same folk got mad, ready to kill when they got back home and found out they were doing it as it was being done to them. You got two people doing dirt.
All right, Mr. Young. Thanks. We'll definitely be there, bro.
Bet, bet. You got two people out there doing dirt. How you gonna get mad at this person for doing dirt and you doing dirt? That's the most idiotic nonsense that I've ever witnessed. But full transparency, I used to be that guy in my 20s and 30s. Out there doing dirt.
For sure. Thanks, Kevin. We'll definitely send you that.
Out there doing dirt and get mad because she doing dirt. Boy, do you know I grew up so fast? I ain't mad about that. But yeah, that happens, man. That happens.
It does. It does.
It happens.
Okay, levels of submission during sex as it pertains to being sinful or sinfully good.
Yeah, let's chop it up. All right, so
No. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Miss Justice, two wrongs doesn't make a right. You're right. Someone has to be the adult. You damn sure right about that.
Yeah, someone has to be adult, and that means you need to be adult to know if you was doing dirt, you can't get mad at that person for doing
No.
dirt. Be an adult, but
Mm-hmm.
both of y'all just be like, you know what? We need to be apart.
Yeah.
Commit the sin of divorce for and just be sinful because you have no reason other than you want some other fruit. That just all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Just dead ass wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Dead ass. But let's knock this out.
All right.
Levels of submission during sex as it pertains to being sinful or sinfully good. I'm just going to say whatever you do in your bedroom is whatever you do. In some circles or thoughts, mindsets, religions, or whatever you want to call it, long time ago, I heard that you should only have sex in a missionary position. Anything else was a sin.
Oh, okay.
Don't quote me on that, because I heard it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, the hell with that. I was never inclined to look it up, research it, or seek knowledge in that, because I was like, the hell with that.
Right.
And that probably goes back to you should only have sex to procreate. Well, then, okay, well, if we're only having sex to procreate, then we need to stick to one position. Maybe for lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. Because they're only built to do one position. Fish, they bump up against each other, snakes get into the ball and whatever snake wins. But as humans, I don't think I could stick to the missionary position. I want to pin your legs back, tie you in a knot, namaste,
All the good stuff.
Yeah. Is that a sin? I don't know.
I don't think it is. I mean, if you're married, y'all are cultivating the relationship, doing what you need to do to stay in love.
Hey, they say keep it spicy.
Yeah, keep it spicy. I don't think that's a sin. I mean, again, I'm no expert on Bible verses or anything, but if you're doing it the right way that they tell us, no, I don't think it is.
But see, that's the thing. You don't think it's a sin. But you know, if you got your let's just say your wife, you got her bent over the couch, and you like rodeo riding it, is that a sin? Like, I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. What pastor don't like to get his old
Behind the pew.
yeah. He don't like to lay down a couple quick verses right quick, as they say. He
Yeah.
don't like to get his knob polished. As they say.
Mm,
I don't know too many. I mean, I'm not there in their room to see anything, but
yeah.
I am a man. I can speak from a man's perspective. So, specific sexual acts, sexual favors, domination as an M, whatever floats your boat.
They say anal sex is a sin.
That's what they say.
I'm not big on it, but they say it's a sin.
That's what they say.
It could be sinfully good for some people.
But here's the other side of that, though. We pretty much been sticking to the sexual side of a man and woman. But if we want to go ahead and break out of that, sex with the same sex, um, one could say that's a sin too, right?
Hey, yeah.
And again,
Anyway,
not throwing rocks at anyone, but
right. Float whatever floats your boat. But
yeah,
hey,
exactly. Do your thing.
I mean, I just looked over the verse and said one man, one woman. All right, cool.
Right.
Got it. You don't
But
have to convince me to abide by that.
they've changed the laws in this country where
Sinning.
same sex can get married. So
So that
are
means
they
they are condoning sin.
okay? Well,
Cheryl says, I don't think in marital boundaries there are no do's and don'ts. I do think it's immoral if you require your partner to do things that make them feel shameful or hurt, and I totally agree with that.
yes, I definitely agree with you, Michelle.
So yeah, when it comes to that point right there it is. If you do something that belittles that person, shames them, hurts them, makes them feel uncomfortable, forcing them, hey, nah, that's wrong. No, don't do that.
Definitely.
It's immoral. It's wrong. It's sinful. It's just all that nonsense. No, can't do
It
that.
is.
Can't do that.
Yeah,
Nah.
me King definitely agree that taking it is not the thing to do. If someone tells you
Not the
no,
thing to do at
no
all.
means no.
No.
But let me ask
Just,
you this though, right quick.
oh shoot.
Let me throw one last one out there.
Oh Lord.
If your wife or significant other say they want some sex and you as the man say no and they kind of force themselves on you, are they doing you wrong at that point?
Technically, yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna complain because I mean I'm gonna keep it real. I might not be in the mood. I might have a bad day
Right.
and I might not want to be touched, but
If she touch you in that special spot.
it's not it's if she touched me in that certain spot, but she could know me to the point where I could be like, nah, I'm not feeling it. But she'd be like, you know what, nah, I know you. You my man. I know how you are. I know how to relax you. And she do that thing. I can't complain. I might have a tight face while she down there, but my face might be tight, and then I'll be like, "That girl doing that thing, boy. Boy, she get on my nerves, but god damn it, I like that shit." I mean, for real.
Hey,
I think it's kind of different when it comes to women, though.
hell yeah, it's
And,
definitely
and and
different.
you ladies out there, definitely chime in if I'm off.
Yeah, please
If
do, please
if
do.
we as men come at y'all be like, "Oh no, I'm not in the mood," and we be like, "Oh nah, I know my boo. I'ma crack her legs open, and whatever, and everything gonna be good." I don't think women's cool with that.
No, no,
I just don't think. I could be wrong. Ladies, correct me if I'm wrong. But when y'all say y'all not in the mood, y'all not in the mood. But when we say in the mood, there's a little leeway in that.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I think.
When y'all say y'all not in the mood, they could end up in handcuffs, and not the handcuffs you like either. I'm not
Right.
gonna do that shit. Hell no. Um, but anyway, we want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. I think this has been a great discussion among
Yeah.
adults. Whether we agreed or disagreed, we still asked the question and we attempted to answer it.
Yeah. I appreciate all the input, man.
Definitely.
I mean, it definitely put a lot of things, I guess, into perspective,
Right.
and gives me personally something to think about. But at the end of the day,
Definitely.
I'm a sinner, um, and that's what it is. Uh,
I'm going to
if
say I'm human.
I'm gonna say I'm human too.
That's what I'm going to say.
I am of the earth.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. I just feel like if that is the worst sin that I can commit, then I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm not out here, committing no. I'm not hurting, you know. I'm not taking anything from anyone
Mm-mm.
that's not freely given to me.
Right.
Um, so I mean, in that, and I'll be damned if somebody tries to say I took it. No, 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 no. That is the last thing on the planet that I would do, because it ain't worth
Okay.
that. I
No.
mean, I have
Mm-mm.
my desires, but I don't have a desire to where I'm going to go take it from nobody.
Hell.
Nobody.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Nah. But definitely a great conversation. Definitely appreciate the input, um, all the feedback and everything. Appreciate y'all. Uh, Again, the merch. I'm waiting for that order of shirt. I'm waiting for dude to email me and say, hey, your order's ready to pick up, so we can do this giveaway. Um, I forgot what sizes that I ordered, but hit us up. We're gonna come up with a giveaway parameters.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you who do win the actual t-shirts, if the size we got does not fit you, let us know and we will make the necessary corrections. It's our gift to you for tuning in with us and we appreciate it. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to the King and I Life podcast. This is Son Soul X and this is my brother.
Soul Touch of the Poet in the house.
Okay, soulful.
Yeah, little sunshine. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody have a good night and be blessed and be fruitful.
And don't sin. We out.